everyone, so in today's video, I'm going to be telling you all about the top beginner fish keeping mistakes and how you can avoid them. There is so much information out there for beginner fish keepers that it honestly might get a little confusing. There is a lot of knowledge that is passed down from family and generations of ways that fish have been kept, and you also have knowledge from workers in the pet store. You have people from different levels of expertise telling you different things. It's a very opinionated hobby as well. And you also have, you go to a pet store and they have those pamphlets for you. They have the care briefly listed on the labels of all the fish tanks. And honestly, it can be very confusing very quickly. And there's also some things that a lot of people don't address. So I am hoping to address those in this video today to put you in the best path of having a lovely fish tank in the future. So let's get into it. The first one is overstocking your tank. Now, this basically means having too much fish for the capabilities of your tank. Now, bioload is just a fancy way of saying the amount of waste produced by the fish. Big example of this is goldfish. Everybody knows about goldfish bowls. Probably everyone has had a goldfish in a bowl. However, unfortunately, this is outdated information. They will make their water levels toxic very quickly. So if you have a tank, you might think that a certain amount of fish would fit, and technically they would, but the water quality would not be able to keep up. You need to know how much waste your fish produces, not just the size it becomes, because it can be a very small fish, but put out massive amounts of waste, and it will need all of that water to dilute that. Now, you may be thinking, how do I know whether it's overstocked or not? I automatically would say go to AQ Advisor. I will do a separate video on this in the future, so I'm not going to get too in-depth, but this is a website that basically lets you calculate the stocking of your aquarium. It will also tell you whether or not you can add more fish based on what you have in your tank. Now, one thing about AQ Advisor, it is geared for beginners, so it's going to stay on the safe side. That would be excellent for something to use if you're calculating how big you need to get how many fish you know you want, or how many fish you can put into a tank that you already have. So that is everything about overstocking. So now let's move on to the next point, which is cleaning too much or too little. Now, you wouldn't think that cleaning too frequently would be an issue, and that if you clean your tank every day, it's definitely going to be the healthiest, but that's actually not true. There is something called beneficial bacteria that you want to have in your tank. The beneficial bacteria actually helps break everything down and, will keep your tank healthier for longer. If you clean your tank too much, whether you are constantly changing the filter cartridges, scrubbing the decor, scrubbing the filter, completely washing the stones, removing all the water, all that kind of stuff, you are going to take out that beneficial bacteria, and it's actually going to make your tank recycle. And so you want to make sure that you stick to about once a week. You only want to change around 25% of the water. And you also want to make sure that you leave things that can be left untouched. If there's a lot of algae growth and you must scrub it off, just make sure that you don't scrub them all, only do the ones that really need it. And also your filter. If it comes to changing your filter, make sure that you only do that about once a month. You want to do it enough that, the activated carbon is still doing its job, but you don't want to clean it so frequently because, again, a lot of the beneficial bacteria does grow in your filter. Now, you want to make sure you don't go too far in the other direction. Like I said, you want to clean your tank about once a week. If you push it to once every 2 weeks, depending on the size of your tank, that's totally fine. However, you don't want to leave it months. So you want to make sure that you clean your tank frequently enough that you don't allow any harmful chemicals in your water to build up. Now, this one point I am going to say separately, even though it is very similar to the overstocking one, and that is just incorrect tank sizes. We'll start off with activity level. There are some fish, like tiger barbs, for example, or zebra danios. They're two very beginner fish that they are quite small, especially danios, they're quite small, but they are very, very active. If they are feeling cramped and they can't swim as much as they want to, they will get stressed, which can lead into illness. And that's how it is with a lot of fish if you don't have the correct tank size. There are a lot of fish that are sold at pet stores that are very, very, very small, but you don't realize just how big they get. In this video here, this is from a local fish store that I go to, and these are their silver arowanas. They are very cute, very small, I would say maybe 5 inches here, but going on to this next clip here, this is a full-grown arowana. It is massive, over a foot long. If you had not done research on arowanas prior and you picked up this small fish thinking that it was cute and you liked the look of it, it is going to largely outgrow that tank very quickly, and you will have a much bigger fish than you were prepared for. You want to make sure that you have the tank that will fit its adult form. There is no such thing as a tank being too big for a fish. If you have a baby, just add a lot more enrichment, more plants, make it feel secure, but don't make yourself have to buy so many tanks or rehome the fish because you don't have the room or the finances to take care of it in its adult stages. The second last point I'm going to address is decor issues. Now, this might be something that you wouldn't really consider, and it generally isn't talked about a lot on those beginner fish care pamphlets. It definitely says you need plants, gravel, ornaments, but a lot of times it doesn't go in depth of what kind. Now for plants, there are fish like goldfish, angelfish, and bettas especially, that have soft, flowy fins. And if you use a sharp plastic plant or an ornament that has a lot of jagged edges, it could hurt the fish. It could hurt the fish's fins. You want to make sure that whatever you are using is smooth or soft so that your fish can, rub against it and it won't be any issues for them. If you do choose to use live plants, some fish are super aggressive with plants. There are fish that will pull at the plants. They will pull at the roots. They will try to dig up the plants. They will grab the leaves and rip them apart. They will chew them. So if you are getting a super delicate plant that has loose leaves, maybe it's like hornwort, which will literally be shredded into tiny little fine needles all over your tank, you'll have to get either a really, really sturdy plant or opt for artificial ones. Another thing you do not want for decor is any ornament that has a hole too small for your fish. There are many times that I have heard that a fish has gone into a hole of an ornament that it didn't fit or that it wasn't supposed to go into, but it got curious, a little too curious, and unfortunately they do get stuck and pass away. Some fish like to hide way more than others, so you can have a place to hide, but you might need tons. If you have shrimp and you want to protect them from your hungry betta in your tank, you are going to need tons of plants. You are going to need moss. You are going to need a lot of little ornaments along the bottom that the shrimp can crawl in and hide in, but it also has to be safe for a betta. A lot of caves, the inside of the ornament is quite sharp, so you have to look on the inside as well. There are a lot of little things with decor that just aren't addressed. Now the last one that I'm going to address is improper assortments of fish. Now I'm not necessarily talking about fish that are going to eat other fish, like if I put a neon tetra in with a piranha, that's not going to go too well for me. However, I am talking about aggression ratios. There are fish that, I'll use guppies for an example here, like to breed a lot. And unfortunately for the female fish, they are harassed. They are chased all day long as the male fish would like to mate with them. So if you have more males than you do females, the females will become so stressed that they may actually pass away as a result, and the males are going to get in fights with each other as they fight over the females because they want to be the most dominant one that wins all the ladies. So you need to have, when you have guppies, and I know sometimes it's hard because the males are the prettiest, but you need to have way more females than males so that the females can get a break from the needy males. Another thing is schooling fish. There are a lot of beginner fish that are schooling fish. Some popular ones will be Danios, Platies, Cories, Neon Tetras, Cardinal Tetras. They all like to be in large groups, a lot of them 6 or more. If you don't have fish in a proper sized school, they will either get extremely stressed or worse, which is generally the case with tiger barbs, if you have an improper amount, they will start to form a hierarchy and go at each other. They will nip at each other, they will be mean to each other, and some fish can be quite violent, honestly. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about in improper mixing is just mixing fish that simply don't go together. If you have fish like a tiger barb in with a betta, unfortunately, the tiger barb is just going to be way too fin nippy. A betta will do very well with some fish, but they can't go with angelfish because they will nip at the angelfish because they feel threatened by seeing another beautiful fish. Some fish are very territorial as well. There are so many different pairings out there, and a lot of them do work. You just got to make sure 100% that you look into what fish you are getting before you get them so that you know the proper ratios. So those are the most common beginner fish keeping mistakes, and I hope I addressed how to avoid them and how to fix them and everything like that. I love doing these educational videos for you guys, so I hope you enjoyed watching it as well, and I definitely hope you learned something. If you want to see more videos like this, I do have a fish care playlist, and if you liked this one, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, then make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to get notified when I upload. That is all for today. Bye!